Well, you can imagine the reaction to this film, Planet of the Humans, has been outrage on the left. Here is a lengthy rant by the leader of Canada's tiny Green Party, Michael Moore's dreadful, ill-informed, unhelpful film. Oh, you know he's on the right track. Well, joining us now to talk about this and what it means and the strengths of this movie and its weaknesses is our friend Marc Morano. He's the boss of ClimateDepot.com, and he joins us via Skype. Hey, Marc, great to see you again.
Hey, thank you, Ezra. Happy to be here. Yeah, what can I say? I mean, this is a tour de force by Michael Moore. And we knew this movie was coming. I think it was last summer, last fall. Michael Moore had given some interviews and had been shown in some film festivals, but he had actually talked about how he didn't know about solar and wind and how unreliable and how it couldn't replace fossil fuels. And he got a lot of flack then, but not too much. It sort of faded. The movie's out now, and it is just lays waste and death. My favorite clip is the scene with Richard Branson and Al Gore. And I don't know where they got this. It was at some renewable energy thing, and they had one of the, it was one of those fake media interviews, but they asked him, is Al Gore a prophet? Asked Richard Branson sitting next to Al Gore, and he goes, it depends how you spell it. And they all have a big belly laugh. To me, that encapsulates what Michael Moore was able to uncover. He goes through people like Bill McKibben, the hero of the climate movement, personal friend of Al Gore, is shown grappling, hemming, hawing, can't think of who funds 350.org. He's asked repeatedly. Again, I'm not even sure what media outlet. I don't recognize. These are like, these must be like indie media on the left, progressive, that I've never even heard of. But the reporter's actually grilling him, and Bill McKibben can't name a single donor, or and he can't. And she keeps saying, "You don't know who funds you." It's an amazing film. However, and I think you alluded to this, the issues are he believes in climate alarmism severely, and his solution is essentially overpopulation, less people, and I think that's where the movie fails. But if you just take that out of the equation, which isn't that big of a part, and focus on the fact that this is, quote, friendly fire from someone on the progressive left, aimed at the progressive left, this is an amazing aha moment for many on the progressive left, particularly Michael Moore and his producer, Jeff Gibbs, who is the voice you hear in the movie.
Yeah. That Branson moment, you're so right on that, because he poses as this organic, woke hero. The guy's got an international airline. I mean, I admire him for his capitalism, but I admire him for his chutzpah, for him to pose as a friend of the environment. First, take a quick look at that clip that you're referring to.
Is Al Gore a prophet? How'd you spell prophet?
There's a saying, only Nixon can go to China. That is, Nixon was so strong on anti-communism, it's really how he made his name, that when he went to communist China to do a deal to break Mao Zedong and others away from the Soviets to realign them against Russia, that's such a dangerous, risky thing. But people said, well, we know that Nixon, of all people, won't go pro-communist. He's got to be smarter than that. He was trusted because he was a right-winger on communism. I think that's the same thing here. I mean, if you look at Michael Moore, from Roger and Me, his GM movie, to Fahrenheit 9/11, Bowling for Columbine, his anti-gun movie, Trumpland, like the guy really is a hero to the left. There's no pet cause he hasn't championed. So he has really 20, 30 years of goodwill. And for him to deploy that at Al Gore, at all these heroes of the left, it really would be as shocking as if I came out for a carbon tax and announced I was transgender. Like, it's that kind of shock value. What do you think happened? Do you think he's just a universal skeptic and he just hated the fact these billionaires were tricking everyone? Do you think he's just a perpetual dissident and he wanted to fight the power and he realized the powerful were the Al Gores? What made him flip?
Well, I think you hit directly on it. First of all, Michael Moore went to Cuba And all he could talk about was how great Castro's literacy rates were and how great the healthcare system was. That gives you an idea of his bona fides on the left. I mean, this guy, you can't get more respect. He also, by the way, and this is interesting because I think there's an honest part. He honestly believes what he presents, meaning he, in 2016, was one of the few on the progressive left. I mean, the progressive left and the mainstream were convinced Donald Trump would never win. Michael Moore called it early on and said that everything he sees, Trump's going to win. So he has that streak in him. Now, I think it's exactly what you say, Ezra. He realized early on, and if you watch even up to the first 10 minutes of the movie, he talks about the Obama stimulus, the $90 billion, the things that led to the Salandra and the other debacles. But he has all the clips and interviews and Richard Branson and others at the time, Al Gore and President Obama bragging about all the money that's going to come and all the energy and how fossil fuels are finished and they're going to just take over and this is all they've ever waited for, blah, blah, blah. And essentially, bupkis happened, okay? And Michael Moore knows that. So what happened was, and I think this is exactly what you say, he doesn't like big corporations, concentrations of wealth. And so he sees the green energy scam for exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. The Soros, the Bransons, the Al Gores, all of these into the so-called renewable fields. And he sees all the con that they're doing and who's profiting and who's making money and who's not delivering on their promises. And for his troubles, Ezra, Josh Fox of Gasland, Michael Mann of the ClimateGate, United Nations hockey stick fame, infamous, signed petitions, pressured the distributor. For a brief time, the distributor had agreed to pull the movie. And then because of pressure against censorship from many conservatives, they decided not to pull the movie. You have the left going bonkers right now, trying to censor Michael Moore's message.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.